Heidi-ho, friends of the sun, welcome to a new video. Today I'm meeting a man who, though now old, shaped my childhood. And I have to say, a lot of you will probably write now, how can you give him a platform? I hate that guy. And the other half will write, hey, I totally love him. He divides Germany like no one else. You either love or hate him. He became famous on Viva. He won my teenage heart and made me laugh on ProSieben's Rent a Pocher, and I later copied the format. Plus, he was also on RTL and SAT. But he got his second big hype with Screen Control during Corona. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. I wonder, what is he actually doing now? I was recently on your podcast, and afterwards many people asked me, how can you hang out with Oliver Pocher?
Yeah, rightly so.
Why do people say that? Why might a few people dislike each other?
But why?
Arms crossed always means not interested.
No, it's a defensive posture. Not wanting to is something else. It's a complete defensive posture. It could also be due to the temperature, which still feels a bit chilly. But yeah, I polarize. You know that. And then there are always people. And that's bashing against Oliver Pocher. That just works really well. That's how it is. You always get attention, reach, and clicks. And there are just people I think are crap. There's just little in between. It's either good or crap.
Do you have an arch enemy?
I don't have an arch enemy, honestly, an arch enemy. No, I really don't think in those terms.
You might say, if he comes, I won't go on stage because I don't want to deal with him.
No, I'm different from a lot of others in that regard. There's no one I wouldn't go on stage with. I'd go on stage with anyone. There's really no one I'd refuse to go on stage with.
Is Christian Wolf coming as a surprise guest today?
It would be nice if he came by. This would have been his place. Normally, we would have been here. We could have done one more day. Same from me on that day, too. We could have taken care of that in the afternoon, including proteins, and could have done this here. That would have been her location.
What's happening here today?
Today, the big annual review with Günther Jauch is happening here, as we can see back there.
Who's in that picture? I can't recognize them anymore.
Yeah, I'm the one with the glasses, because my eyesight has gotten worse, and I had my nose done again, kind of like half Bafil. But yeah, I'm doing a year in review. That's what I'm doing now.
A year was with Luke?
2 years even with Luke. We started with Luke. That was 2022. Somehow it's practical. The first time it's normal again after Corona. Because we were able to perform again, I did one with Luke in Münster. That worked so well that a year later we did 2. The next year, I wanted to do a bigger tour with Luke. But then, at short notice, he somehow wasn't really up for it anymore. And then...
Because of everything that happened with Luke, or because you're so exhausting?
No. Funnily enough, he said it was for image reasons. But then, shortly after, he verbally threw the disabled into the water with the Germans. And now I don't know if, in hindsight, I should be grateful to him for almost protecting me there with foresight. Or maybe not. And then I am...
What happens when someone like Luke says to you, hey, Ollie, I like you, but for image reasons, I don't really feel like hanging out with you today? Do you say, Luke, we're friends, stop whining, or I'm not talking to you?
No, I already made my opinion very clear about what that was about. And honestly, it did have a little bit to do with that. With a lawsuit that I now have against Christian Diron, well, I have to keep the Christian straight.
Yeah, it gets confusing.
The maybe still life partner of Amira Fuera, who went around the media industry with a video about an argument with Amira. And because of that, Luke was a bit scared and thought, oh, if this gets picked up by the media somehow, then I don't know if that's a good thing.
There could be a storm, and I don't want to get wet.
Exactly.
Are you disappointed, or do you understand?
No, I'm disappointed and don't like it. Honestly, because at a time when I told him again, I said, just briefly, Luke, you do know that you're facing rape rumors in public. Anyway, I explained that to him very clearly as well. I said, listen, Luke, then we go out and they call us the woman beater and rapist, Luke Mockridge and Oliver Pocher. Who is who, we'll find out over the course of the evening.
Tough?
Yeah, but that's how you have to deal with it.
And is the relationship good now?
Just this week, we were together at a gala in Bad Nauheim, which I've been hosting for 14 years now, and it's about inclusion. He also performed there last year, where we, for example, made sure of that as well. So even after he had his scandal, I still said, hey, make sure you can perform somewhere. For example, every disability association in Germany said, please not with him. He had no chance to get on stage anywhere. And I think with this event, we managed quite well to give him another opportunity and a platform to perform somewhere. And he also performed this year, and we performed a number together, with the hits of the year, supposedly, or throughout the whole decade.
For me, you're the guy, the young, cheeky guy who was really cool on the Hans Meiser talk show in the 90s and then somehow won a Viva internship.
Yeah, well, honestly, it was called Hans Makes You a Viva Star. That was the name of the show. That was in '99 in September, and it was already pretty clear that you were supposed to host at Viva afterwards. Of course, Viva still left themselves a back door, like, yeah, he'll do it for a week and then we'll see.
Everybody, yeah, rock your body, yeah.
And when I won the show, and actually Viva wanted someone else to win.
Do you know who? Right, Toby Schlegel?
No, Toby Schlegel was already there. I know the guy was like, with a ukulele and messy hair and all that. Unfortunately, I don't remember his name, but that was the one Viva had actually intended as the winner. Back then, Mola Adebisi was also on the jury, and interestingly, will be coming here later too. And Milka and a Viva editor. And it was a live broadcast. And during the last commercial break, when it was supposed to be decided who would move on, the Viva editor, as was her job, wanted to do her duty and say, yes, well, we would take him with us because that meant he was supposed to win.
Yes.
And it was really like that. I was already there that day. If you look at it neutrally, I got the most reactions and laughs, so I was already the best. Mola said he thought Ollie was already the best, but if not, they'd take him along. I replied that it wasn't my decision. Milka, who had just been at Viva for 3 months, said, at Viva, it was said that Mola was right. He really is the best. And then it was a 2-to-1 decision. And then they took me along, but they still gave the other guy another chance too. Somehow, I think they even let him do it for a week, but that was basically the start of that week. And on the second to last day on Thursday, I still remember. After Interactive, which was the live show from 3 to 5 p.m., that was the primetime show on Viva on the second to last day. Then the CVD, the chief on duty, said, do we want to have a talk? Are you coming alone or with management? And I said I'd better come with management. And back then, I was already acquainted with Heinz Jungklausen, Mola's manager, who is still his manager today. He negotiated my first Viva contract, and then I signed a 2-year contract with Viva that was basically the start.
Is it like in soccer, where Heinz says, so Ollie, if he's going to perform here once a week, then he'll get 500 marks per show?
Yeah, honestly, it was like this. They offered 4,000 marks per month at Viva, which even back then, for media standards and everything.
Nowadays, that's actually good again.
That's really true. That really wasn't very much. And at least he managed to negotiate 5,000 out of it.
But then he took 20%, so it was 4 again.
If you took 20% from the 4, it would be the same. Yeah, they just go down. I don't even know if I paid the 20% on the regular stuff. Maybe I did, but what was especially good was that all the additional hosting gigs were paid extra. And that's a lot, since you already... Back then, there was a show called Art Attack on Zweites Deutsches Fernsehen, and a Viva host would go there once a week. Back then, there was also the Ringfest, the U-Fair, and all these special events. For example, it was really worth it when everyone else was there, where you would get 5,000 here, 2,000 there, sometimes even 10,000 or so. And that's already a difference, because the Viva people were sometimes there as a complete package. They would show up at all the events and say, well, we can have a booth here from Viva, and we'll bring the hosts along too. So Viva really was, you have to say, it was kind of a rip-off organization. I mean, everyone really made a lot of money from it. Well, actually, Dieter Gorny and the top management,
Wasn't this your first television application with Hans Mai?
I applied to Viva every year and to music television as well. I also made it to the elimination rounds from time to time, but it was never enough. I was also at Viva once and actually had an on-site casting with reading from a teleprompter and hosting and everything that goes with it. I had just appeared on Pocher before another show. Back then, I always checked teletext and watched talk shows.
Teletext, does that button even exist anymore for younger people?
Yeah, it still exists.
Yeah, you can still use it?
It's now digital text, but classic teletext is still available on Arbeitsgemeinschaft der öffentlich-rechtlichen Rundfunkanstalten der Bundesrepublik Deutschland and zweites deutsches Fernsehen.
It looks like internet on television, like Pocher, a talk show host similar to Arabella, all on Sat 1, for a very long time.
With Sonia,
Franklin,
Pilawa,
Johannes B. Kerner,
also Kerner.
Pilawa.
It was everything.
Talk with Vera. I'm going to shoot with Vera soon. That's going to be great.
Yes, Vera and Wien. Many believed her name was Vera am Mittag, but her actual name is Vera Entwehen.
And Pocher, the blonde host, together with Michel Friedman. Married?
By now,
For many years.
yes.
And she had a talk show. It was the same concept as with Hans.
Every talk show usually has 6 guests to discuss a topic, plus a few more as examples, and a few who can actually do something or have something to tell.
So, were you there to be shown as an example or because you could do something?
At first I thought it was because I could do something, but later I realized it was to be shown as an example, because the approach I applied for was, you're funny and you want to show it sometime, or you are entertaining, right? I think that's mine, was funny. And back then it was still like that. The editors would go out, have a preliminary talk, and do a screen test. They brought a video camera and filmed part of the conversation with someone in front of it.
Wait, start from the beginning.
Back then. A classic, like that. Hello, can I talk to you for a moment? Suddenly you have a penis in your mouth?
Yeah, like that.
It wasn't quite like, it was serious. And then I think the editor's name was Andreas Elsner. I think I even, talked to him. Nickname, with whom I later also worked together on television. That was the editor. Back then, people actually went out, checked people out, because they had to get an impression, just over the phone. You never know, does he have 3 teeth or not? Or is he at 2 per Mila? Just to show they're not totally crazy. Then he came out with Dietmar here and Ollie, who also tries to be funny and do comedy. And then there was the preliminary talk. And then we were actually invited to the show. Yeah, you're in, this and that, it starts at this time. Right. Then please be in Cologne at 2 o'clock. How are you getting here? Are you coming by train? By car? How are you doing it? And then we get to the show, and then suddenly the show's called. You're not funny, but you only realized that practically during the show or shortly before. I was the top guest, coming out first. Then Dietmar followed. And now, looking back, of course you see all of that. He said, yeah, you have a funny buddy, but he's sometimes annoying or something like that. Yeah, there are a few people like that, so what? Not everyone thinks it's funny. There was a bit of a negative setup there. And then I came out. And I was wearing a blue satin suit with an orange tie.
But you also did everything to fit in perfectly.
Slightly bleached hair. I walked out, and after the applause, there was always an opening line. Ollie was like, well, but I'm still funny, right? And then just went out there. They told you beforehand which sentence you should say first, and then you chatted briefly. And then I was supposed to do a stand-up. That was the deal. 1 minute 30. So do 1 minute 30 with an audience, which actually already biases them against you. No matter what you say, you could deliver the best punchlines. No fucking chance. And then I did my stand-up bit about going to the movies and how the people, then somehow, when you're standing there at the restroom, there are like 80 urinals, that there's always someone standing right next to you and then looking over and all that stuff. And then he also wonders why his popcorn always tastes salty, or sometimes there's a little curly hair in it and stuff like that. I did that there. And of course, people didn't really react negatively at all. I also began insulting the audience.
Good idea. Yeah, if they're already against you, then you can, you can really do some damage.
That's right, I said. They're all idiots here. They just don't get it. If I ever did that bit on Harold Schmidt, it would definitely work better. Irvin Schaefer said, next time I'm on Harold Schmidt, You'll definitely have a seat in the audience. Of course, he got the laugh and the applause with that.
Nicely leading the bear through the ring?
Yes. It was really funny how I later talked with Bärbel Schäfer and eventually appeared on her radio show, and how it all turned out. And back then, there was also quite a scandal involving Michelle Friedman, also here in Berlin.
The little Nazaway scandal.
Yes, Paolo Pinkel, as he was allegedly known then, which made major headlines. The older or younger ones just have to Google it. Honestly, I couldn't help but feel a certain basic sense of mockery about it.
You can't help but feel a basic sense of mockery.
Strangely enough.
Strangely enough?
Strangely enough after the whole story. But then we somehow had a talk, and now, if we were to see each other, everything's cool, everything's fine. But it's really funny how things come together again like that. And that I later actually did a show with Harold Schmidt, and then also did Schmidt and Pocher. It's so funny how things come full circle like that. And I think it was pretty much at that time when the Paolo Pinkel story happened, when I was with Harold Schmidt. So how the path crossed again on a certain level. And then you were the one who made fun of it in your weekly stand-up and so on. So it was pretty funny how that turned out.
What was it like back then for young Ollie? You go to the casting, Viva was really the place to be back then. If you made it there,
yeah,
then it could work out if you were good, if you didn't make it through the castings. Were you sad or are you okay again every year? Like now, because it was because of this or that?
Yeah. Well, of course you're disappointed. But I kept going anyway. Like I said, that's also my upbringing as a Jehovah's Witness. That you deal with setbacks, disappointments, or rather, good day. The world is ending soon. No thanks. We'll come back in 4 weeks. Bye. So you just keep going.
That's what you did in your youth. You rang people's doorbells?
Yeah, sure. I also stood in a pedestrian zone.
How did that go? So you have to. Your parents are or were?
My parents are still Jehovah's Witnesses.
Do you celebrate Christmas there?
No, you don't celebrate anything. There's a memorial meal where Jesus' death is remembered. That's the only thing. Nothing else. No Easter, Pentecost, or Christmas.
No presents for Ollie?
No birthday, no class trips, no biology or sex education classes. No religious education, no election for class representative. So you're basically predestined to be an absolute bullying victim and outsider.
Were you one too?
No. It actually helped that I got through it because of my class clown antics and my general popularity. But I know a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, at that age. 80% of people break down or have major problems and end up outsiders in class.
Now I have to ask, when was your first Christmas? You mean like Christmas?
Honestly, I only really had a classic Christmas celebration when I started working at Viva. I lived with my parents the whole time, and then at 21 I moved to Viva and got my own apartment, and so on. The first Christmas that was really celebrated in a festive way was then. Back then, I was still with Anne-Marie Warncross, now Carpendale.
That's right.
We were together and then that's how it was. Celebrating Christmas with the family, there was never a question of, are we going to your family or mine? So we went to her family's. Those were my first classic family Christmases, so at 22, 23 years old.
Wow.
Where you just sit down on Christmas Eve, say thank you, get something to eat, gifts, presents, and all that.
I always like to tell that story. I once had a show on Join, and after that, I played a quiz against Ollie and totally wiped the floor with him.
And a fully grown zebra has about 80 stripes.
Yes, I defeated Oliver Pocher. This is the best day of my life. And a month later, we were both in a Zweites Deutsches Fernsehen quiz show, and he was late. He was biting on the way to the studio. It was really, now it's starting. He bit into a bread roll. The tomato squirted onto his t-shirt. He looked like a fool, and unfortunately, he completely wiped the floor with me in the quiz.
He's also a bit stressed.
Do you always have a ring light too?
No, and he's a bit stressed. He now speaks German quite well, and he also has a whole truck full at Amazon that he still has to deliver.
In the last episode, that's right.
Yeah, I know, but now also...
Did that joke just hurt you and you want to tell him, but you don't dare?
There's just a notification at the end.
Okay, very good, thank you.
At the end, there's a settlement.
Everything is always?
It's always the same. We just throw money at people.
You just do the Wünsche and win the thing, right?
She didn't.
It was a good draw.
I'm not sure that was a draw since she didn't win anything. She wanted compensation for pain and suffering, but she didn't actually suffer any pain.
Well, in her reels, it looked different.
Honestly, I haven't seen any of them, because for the past 4 years, she really feels like she's been out of my sight. I'm also dealing with a lawsuit about something from 2020, when Angela Merkel was still chancellor. So we're really 2 chancellorships further along by now, so it doesn't matter to me at all. And she really wanted compensation for pain and suffering, but she didn't get a single cent. And to what extent you're allowed to repeat that she had followers back then, those likes? I honestly think there were already more than enough suspicious things. And if someone from whom she supposedly bought it tells you, here's the email, and by the way, this is the credit card, that's what it looks like. So I see that more or less as evidence. I didn't see that this should have criminal consequences for me. And for example, if my approach is that normally, when I get punched in the face, someone is supposed to pay a €1,500 fine if I say something that is demonstrably quite honest and understandable, and that is supposed to cost me €15,000 in fines.
So your salary means things are going well?
Yeah, that's honestly true. Maybe we should even consider something else, but that's not the point. I just don't see it that way. And then we had the thing, we said 15,000 in donations. That was for the Children's Hospice, Children's Hospital, and Doctors Without Borders. And then I'd rather donate it, and we'll end the thing right there, which I also don't really think is right, but I'd rather do it that way than just have it go stupidly into the state treasury.
Would you like to apologize to Anne here on the channel now?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Well, Wünsche is really pretty much the most antisocial person around somehow.
I distance myself from that.
You're distancing yourself from someone who...
I'm not dealing with her.
You're distancing yourself from someone who owns a $2,500 sex doll.
Does she?
Yes, she does. But she also has the trefoil pussy if you just want that. They start at €400, but were cheaper during Black Week, even though they're not black. But that's just the option you have.
How is it for you?
Thank you. Oh, that's ours.
How often do celebrities mention you once made fun of or messed with them? And you're like, huh?
Regularly, when I go to an event like that. But that doesn't happen very often. But then someone is like, hey, you really roasted me once on the Bildschirm controller, right? And I'm thinking, roasted? I have no idea. I don't know. I did that regularly for 2 years, and now I don't even know when. Who are you? Where? Which one? Yeah. Back then I had that one seat cushion or something. That was dumb too. Honestly, I admit I thought it was funny too, but that's always the classic. Yeah, that was already embarrassing. I often can't really, of course I know. Here, Iris Klein, mother of Daniela Katzenberger or some others like that, you know them. Funny enough, I've never seen Anne Wünsche either, so since then, she always refused to take part in a discussion or a conversation or to make an appearance. So that's similar to Christian Wolf?
Maybe we still have a surprise guest for you today. We don't know yet, at least from my side.
Sure, so again, I sit down with her, and then I tell her that straight to her face somehow, just the way it is. But in the end, I think she's wonderful.
If I were to ask you privately about McDonald's...
If I would go out to eat with her?
Yeah, a private meeting. If she says, we argued, but I'm here with my kids just like me. Let's go to Ireland, to the cornfield.
We can do that. I have no problem with it. Basically, people with kids or those who... For example, I was at Bushido's last tour, and most of his kids were there. We almost filled up the kids' area ourselves, so that was really something. Somehow, I didn't expect that either. I even said that. I said it. Honestly, 15 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined that we'd be standing here in the kids' paradise with what feels like 12 kids.
You were with Bushido when he got an award, maybe Echo or Otto, I can't remember.
Echo.
Echo on stage with him.
Yeah, dragged along.
No, were you taken by Arafat or by... Who had you?
Yeah, someone took me along in a headlock.
Yeah, that sounds like Arafat.
Someone, yeah, but it could also be one of the cousins or something.
Yeah,
Could have been...
How was it always with Bushido? I've never met him. I know a lot of musicians and I get along well with them. Some of them, anyway. For instance, I know you and Sido don't get along, but I don't really care.
No. Actually, it's because of Sido. I don't have a problem with Sido at all. It's Sido who has a problem with me. We filmed Rent a Pocher and Fuffyism Club and everything, and we hung out with him. In the early days, when he was with Charlotte Engelhart, whatever her name is now, we used to hang out together. Charlotte and I hosted on Sky Saturday Live, so I saw him almost every Saturday when we were hosting there.
Ah, okay.
He acted against Sandy, lost the trial, and must pay 15,000 euros. Then we went snowmobiling here with those snowmobiles. And then we said, hey, come on. And then we drank a lot and everything. And so, whenever there's a chance to make a comment, it's always like, yeah, Ollie Pocher or something. For example, I also had him during the Corona period, even though I didn't have anything. When suddenly, for example, Bild newspaper editors showed up at his house or something, I completely took his side as well. You also think that at some point there are limits to when and where you show up. I mean, look, I can completely separate those things.
Today you're here with Jauch.
Yes.
How do you reach him? Günther Jauch? He called me twice after Who Wants to Be a Millionaire from a blocked number, and that was it.
That's it. There are two. Günther Jauch and Thomas Gottschalk. Those are pretty much the only ones and the last ones who still call with a hidden number.
Because they can't turn it off or don't want Troshka to have their number?
I think it's a mix of both.
Do you call, text, fax, or WhatsApp Günther Jauch to share your plans, or do you just call him?
Yes. I called him. I called him. I called and asked.
Yes.
And then I thought, because I didn't want to give up this year in review as a topic.
So,
as I said, last year we had Zerdas and Wünsche, then Luke. Still, I asked, how does it look? I didn't perform the whole time because I wasn't sure. Then it was back and forth, and suddenly I was with Ilka Besson, Cindy from Marzahn. But she was still busy with her tour and stuff, so somehow nothing really happened.
my phone didn't ring, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't have you on my radar either.
Honestly, it's not a big deal.
And then at some point I thought, what's actually going on with Günther? Yeah, since he's done so many year-in-review shows, it would be cool to do one with him. And then I called him and asked, and then he started to steer the conversation in a certain direction. I thought, okay, he's going to say no now. I said, look, Günther, this is how it is. We're completely flexible with the timing, how, when, where, however we do it. Year in review, just show up. We'll discuss the year and see what happens. And he was like, yeah, you know, if I say something, then it's always, then it ends up in the newspaper, the press, and so on. And I was like, yeah, Günther, I mean, if that still really bothers you, then okay, that's fine too. We can always, if necessary, make another cut here. If you say that scene or that... Are you recording? We're recording this, we're doing it for ourselves. For the app...
The Pocher app has a good deal now. What will Ollie show you?
Of course, we're also recording this for ourselves, and we're not just doing this for fun, to perform live here once. But of course, we're doing this for ourselves as content. Usually, if Günther Jauch and Oliver Pocher were talking, it would be a television show, where you say, yeah, I'll check that out. And that's what I thought was awesome. When he said, he looked and said, I could do these 2 days, and I was like, yeah, Berlin or Cologne, whatever, I'd be in Berlin. All right, let's do it in Berlin. Should we have an audience or not? Yeah, whether they see it there right away or watch it later? Yeah, good, all right. Then I told him, listen, we have the Admiral's Palast here, we have that day. Interested? Then, in the original, I got a text message with a thumbs up emoji. That's basically the...
Real thumbs up? Or my dad, sometimes he clicks the wrong one. He always sends this really cool one.
No, he has the right thumbs up, but now without any color. It's still the yellow one.
The Simpsons one?
The yellow one. He sent it, and that's for me. That's a contract with Günther Jauch.
It could happen today that he doesn't know anything about it. Did you guys talk again today?
No, not at all.
With you, appointments are always like this. For example, for the podcast, you set a time, then we had a quick call about today. Then I texted you, hey, I'll be there on time, yo, cool and done.
That's how it is for us, too.
So we'll also see a sad Oliver Pocher later?
Because he isn't coming.
Yeah, because he's actually not there after all.
No, he's there.
Because he has a birthday or something like that?
No, that's... Mola is picking him up.
Okay. Mola might say, he isn't answering, but I hear someone there.
So yeah, but until then, like if Mola is somehow, let's say, in the dark there in Potsdam, he's already got 3 grazing wounds there. I mean, if he even makes it that far. But no, he's going to pick him up. Günther is easygoing about that too.
Now, we've already talked about your path to television in your youth. Then Viva started and you really took off. I think I began noticing you toward the end of your time at Viva, but the real breakthrough was later. And I saw that when you started with Rent a Pocher. We love to entertain you and everything around it.
Hi, I'm Ralph Baldus, a dentist, and I hired Ollie today as a professional dental assistant.
Hello, good day.
Hello.
So, where are we going first? Do you notice that? That's not numb either. Oh, I see, sorry. And do you feel this here? Do you feel anything? Do you notice anything from that?
So you worked at Viva first, then ProSieben called and asked you to join like a soccer transfer.
No, it was simpler. ProSieben, or rather, Viva merged with Brainpool during its initial public offering.
Oh.
And Brainpool is the production company. The one that also co-produces Stefan Raab.
Yeah.
That's where Stefan Raab is also involved. Walk-in show, Stefan Raab.
Stromberg?
Stromberg, then later exactly the author, head writer of, Stromberg. Ralph Hussman was my head writer back then. He was head writer at,
How did jokes not come from you?
At Harold Schmidt? Yes. But he, basically did the show. He was a producer of the show, because he saw my potential, very early on. And it was like, when I started at Viva, even then he was the humorous one and always said I would already. Of course, it was a dream to somehow have my own show, a personality show. Back then they said, no, we already have Nils Roof at Viva 2 and Toby Schlegel, who was there at the time. Was called Cool. I think that was the show's name. With Frank Lemmerman, that's already 3 funny people. We don't need a 4th right now. And then Viva, all the initial public offering happened, like Viva's initial public offering, Brainpool, then somehow they merged. And then there was, from Miller Milch, a budget. And then there was Alice Pocher, Oder was. That was my first personality show in 2002 on Viva, where they came in as the title sponsor.
That's Hans-Peter Scooter. Most know him as a vibrant personality who never drops below 500 beats per minute when going full out. But even in private, Hans-Peter is a real live wire, a great guy, popular with young and old alike.
Hello, Mr. Scooter. Nice weather.
You can say that again. It's endless summer, endless summer. And accordingly, they provided the money. And then Brainpool co-produced it, so Brainpool co-produced a Viva show, among other things. And Ralph Hussman was one of my, or was basically the boss. Then there's also, Yves Schifferle, also a very interesting person. At the time, they hosted Swiss television shows like Big Brother, and later became head of entertainment at Swiss Television, and who has now also won the Eurovision Song Contest for Switzerland. He was also on my editorial team back then, and that's basically how we did Alice Pocher Oder was. And there was a segment where you could rent me.
Yeah.
It was simply and creatively called Rent Me. And back then, we still had just an answering machine with a phone number people could call.
Then first, Brody called, I have a kebab shop, come by.
Like, hello, yeah, hey, hey, and so on. People who hung up, but also people who seriously had some requests. That was a segment, Rent Me, right? I'm not sure if it was called Rent a Pocher then. Was there also a production budget for pilots? That's what it's always called. A test show, where they said, let's do something for ProSieben. And then it turned into a ProSieben test show. And then it aired in the late night, I mean really late night, after Television Total on Thursday. Back then there was Elton with Elton Television, Simon Grosse Johann, Comedy Street. I watched Rent a Poker, Bully Parade, and maybe Quatch Comedy Club. There were so many comedy shows back then. And that's where I was. And I also very quickly founded a production company with Stefan Raab.
Did you have to leave Viva for ProSieben?
No, I was at Viva.
Okay.
I kept doing interactive stuff and so on because I enjoyed it. But it was in the same building, because back then Viva moved from the Media Park in Cologne to Schanzenstrasse, where everything is now. Interactive and Viva studios are now essentially where the Heute Show has been produced for years. Viva was in there, and then I had Viva, and next to it, Rent a Pocher, and then Television Total was the big studio. And then also where Schlagged and Raab was supposed to be later and so on. And there was Rent a Pocher was well, the studio was then built in there season by season. So I did Viva and Rent a Pocher and everything there. I hosted interactive and sometimes some charts, and then Rent a Pocher and everything.
When did you realize things were going well financially?
Pretty much exactly during that phase. There was a point at some time when, my parents called. My mother, I think, or my father, I'm not sure. They said, you're a millionaire now. And I was like, yeah, okay, nice. And for my parents, being a millionaire.
Before or after taxes?
In the account, for them, being a millionaire means having 7 figures in the account.
But if someone wants to take about 50 off of that, you can.
They've already handled that. My father manages the finances. It was surprising to see a 1 suddenly appear at the front of the account balance. My parents called when I had all those zeros, during the Viva era around 2003 or 2004. Yeah. You have to think about what you're going to do now, whether you want to buy an apartment or how you're going to invest the money or something like that. Back then, money was never my motivation. To do that, I said, yeah, I don't know, because I was 24 or something like that. I don't need anything and have no idea.
What does Ollie Pocher do with his money?
Then I told my parents, what about you? Don't you want to buy something or something like that? And then my mother asked, what would we do with the house? And then she called about 24 hours later. You know, there are actually some really nice plots of land here.
Then it moved to ProSieben Rent a Poker and everything worked out. How many episodes did you do?
120 or something like that.
Because of you, I always was. Because of you, I was always tired on Fridays because you really had Bully Parade, Television Total, then came Elton or Simon Grosjean, then you came on, and 11 o'clock was not good for the teenagers. No, especially on Fridays. And you did that with Stefan. You guys were real buddies.
Well, buddies, no. Business buddies.
Let's put it that way.
Stefan Raab offered me a production company back then to work with him.
What was it called?
Well, I had Pocher Television, that was the normal name, so to speak, and with Raab Television, they co-produced it. Yeah, that was a real honor for me back then. You said great.
How much % of the company did you have?
Officially, I always thought I had half, until the profit distribution came at some point, and you realized. It's not 50% 500,000. And why is it only 378,000? I don't really understand that now, and so on. And then, you get to the bottom of it, and then you realize how, of course, you're being pulled apart from all sides, somehow.
Okay, and then the relationship wasn't so good anymore, right? Because he was even a guest on Television Total, or at your last Rent a Pocher.
Rent a Pocher? Could be. I don't even remember anymore. He was definitely there for the second one or something, so at the beginning. I really did too. I'm really completely grateful too. The story. So that's not just thanks to Stefan. I see the bigger mind behind it. Jörg Rabosch, then Brainpool's boss, who truly had this vision. This thing about keeping the rights, with MySpace. Also this thing against YouTube, keeping formats, content, rights, and so on. He really did a great job, and I always got along really well with them, and I totally benefited from it. I then did the Walk World Championships.
That's right, you were...
Diving, show jumping was there once, stock car. I did the commentator, co-moderator, and so on for all those things. But at some point, I was in a position where I wanted to get out of there. And you noticed, that,
That's the,
doesn't exist.
Yeah, so...
Either host here or don't. And one such experience for me was also when I, back then, with Max Mutzke, when he was at the Eurovision Song Contest in Istanbul and sang Can't Wait Until Tonight. And then I jokingly said, we just have to break up Germany and then each federal state then has to give each other the points. Then a German wins and you can do live connections.
Oh, that's how I know the format.
First of all, this was a great show you did tonight here in Erfurt. The jury from Saxon-Anhalt, 12 points like that, and then I did it like that, and then we did. On Monday, Stefan then performed the number more or less the same way. I remember seeing title protection notices in the press report back then. Bundesvision contest, federal states song competition.
Welcome to the Bundesvision Song Contest 2005.
And then I went to Jörg Rausch and said, I don't want to say anything, but that was already my idea that I had. Can't I at least somehow host the show or something? Because Stefan doesn't really host, actually. No, Stefan hosts it. You can do the green room then. Yeah, all right.
Did you do it?
I did it then too. But it was also clear to me when I saw it.
Ah,
That's how the principle works. So brain pool, it was clear that the brain is Stefan, the rest is the pool. Everything that's great goes to the top and is implemented accordingly. Back then, I was the team leader in Zanzibar, which Stefan didn't want. That's one example.
yeah, that was great. You really did, I have to say. I always wanted to join your soccer games against the national team, but you never handed out wild cards. Zanzibar was really great, I think, and I have to say what I also thought was really good. That was once with Vinny Schaefer.
We played once against Bayern and once against Ballspielverein Borussia.
What must be said, at the 2006 World Cup, you played in the charity match with Zhu.
Yes.
For that, I really hate you deep down.
Yes.
I'm happy for you, but I hate you. So what's Zidane like? Does he smell good?
Yeah, he was funny in the locker room. Well, he just kind of mumbled to himself in French. Yeah, Zidane was here. It's fine, everybody is here, have fun. There was a scene where I went over, and an amazing photo captures it. I just gave Zidane 2 instructions, and now there's a picture of me standing and gesturing like this.
And you scored a goal, right?
And I scored a goal.
Hey, you're living my dream? No, you deserve it.
I just wanted to say, for example, the Zanzibar thing. They offered that to Stefan Raab. If you wouldn't like to become team manager. And Stefan didn't feel like traveling there. And then they said, Ollie, he's into soccer, he can do it. Is it working now? That was the situation.
What falls off the edge of the plate, you can't?
Exactly. That's what you get, unless you have another idea. It was the same with Arno Schneppenheim. Today, also one of the bosses he was at Florida, later with Joko and Klaas. Then, went to Bunny Jai, who also had ideas.
Oh, right, Arno? Sorry, I sometimes mix up Arno.
Right. Arno Schneppenheim also had the idea, like having Ollie in live broadcasts. You shouldn't underestimate that. Things happen to him. People always underestimate him, but somehow he always manages to pull it off really well. We need to have a show where, let's say, there are 10 games. On a Saturday evening live show, where there's also a relatively large prize at the end, at least 100,000 euros. And people compete against him. I was like, yeah, can you imagine that? Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Then, at some point, there was Schlagd and Raab.
That's not Ollie Pocher, this? No.
That wasn't Schlagd and Pocher.
After that incident, you all would have targeted the little guy quickly. Total success.
We did that then? Well, the game concept where several people compete against him isn't new or newly invented.
But like this?
The way it was. Well, I say, it was a give and take. But then you could see how production companies would come, go, and do things. So there was also Rent a Pocher. Did they also work with Paul Panzer? Right, exactly. That's what Arno produced. And also, Duel Around the World was originally, Elton versus Simon.
Right, they just didn't want to. Elton didn't want to anymore.
Elton lost interest, so Joko and Klaas replaced him, a change also initiated by Arno, suggesting prior issues. If you examine the origins and contributors of ideas, you can only take the media industry as seriously as you consider it.
Oh, I forgot one. There used to be a diving competition, I heard. You jumped from near the ceiling. Exactly, and in Munich or Berlin, you apparently misjudged everything so badly that you supposedly only landed a little bit into the pool.
We already hit the water. Looking back, I'm not sure you could do that again. That was about 14 meters high. I think it was either in Munich or in Berlin, and Stefan broke his tailbone during the jump.
Exactly. Someone told me Pocher landed so close to the pool's edge that everyone thought the after-show party was cancelled due to a fatal accident.
It worked.
And the second thing is, I don't know if you're allowed to tell me, the first one. Kai Flommer hosted the first diving event but didn't jump at the end and stopped hosting after that.
Exactly, that was the show, the program.
Yes.
Where everyone said, come on, Kai, and then Flauma.
Yes.
Then Stefan joined in and so on, yeah, and then he said no. He was often suppressed and referenced his German Democratic Republic past. He basically made it almost politically charged.
Yes.
That he didn't jump because he believed he was too fancy and refined. Sonia eventually jumped.
Exactly.
Whether it was from the 5 or 10 meter. Kai didn't. But Stefan and I jumped from the very top. That was the show.
And since then, Kai doesn't like Stefan anymore.
I'm not sure. That was ultimately why there was a break. I don't really know. I mean, but Kai himself also wasn't interested anymore.
Ah.
These events, well, I don't know. but it was definitely me. It's possible that it was even the last show. Yeah, because before that, since he was still at SAT. One back then, he hosted things for ProSieben. That's when I thought, if Kai Flama isn't hosting, I've hosted enough at the poolside and Walk World Championship, I can do it too. Nope. Ingolf Luke did it once, then Ollie Welke, then Matthias Oppenhoffel. Everyone else? Just not me, and I was always just the one doing the promotions.
The cheeky one. On the mic? Yeah.
On the mic. At some point you thought,
You're standing there, man. That's exactly where people know you.
at some point you decided to take another step, which is how I eventually ended up at the events. Yeah, I didn't take part anymore either, or rather, I went to Harold Schmidt's.
What was the atmosphere like there?
The lottery jackpot has been won. 35 million are gone.
Nice little sum, not bad.
It's split between two, so it's still 17.5 million. At least, as you can read in a major German tabloid, that amount will last you over half a year. If you invest it right, Harold still wanted me. And then, I would say, the atmosphere is a bit, well, a bit frosty. Because, well, Harold Schmidt was also at Brainpool back then and then left. Partly because of Stefan Raab. Because there were some disagreements. He did the Harold Schmidt show and then became independent with Benito and started working on his own. Now, the same thing happened with Stefan and me, so I went to Harold Schmidt, who also seemed aware of it. How to trigger someone, so to speak.
Yes.
And we did that with Stefan once or twice as well.
What do you mean by Stefan Raab? Trigger? Cleared out all the Mettbrötchen in the cafeteria?
No, like when you made some little hints about his private life, or we also once with sponsors, so...
He keeps his private life separate, which I think is good. There are also others who bring their relationships into the public, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I think there's a middle ground. I'm also pretty far from any of that myself. We're separated, but we're still sleeping together like Bushido and Anna Maria. I think there's still a way forward, right? Mike Hyder and Layla Lahauer. There's still a way forward. I'm with someone, otherwise I really keep my private life to myself. But you don't know how I live, where I live, exactly what it looks like there, what it's like there. My children, you don't even know the names of my children.
That's true.
Well, I already have. I don't think having kids is a bad thing either. Well, Stefan even kept his last child a secret from the editorial team. He didn't say anything about it anymore. Even people he works with. That's how it was. He's just completely crazy about everything that's going on. Günther Jauch is still all right. At least you know his wife and have seen her once or twice. You know that he has children, that he has adopted as well. So he does have a few things going on.
Because Mr. Jauch does something good. I once saw a report saying children could only watch Harry Potter after reading it, which I thought was great.
And all the books, too.
Yeah, of course.
And in the original English.
Yeah, of course.
And wrote a summary about it. That's Günther Jauch, right?
And then you went to Schmidt, but is that smart? You wanted to be the main guy and then you go to Schmidt? And there, did you see yourself as a sidekick?
No, I wasn't. In the show, I actually said that right away in the introduction. When we talked about it. I said, I'm not going to be the green boy here, right? I'm not here for that. Manuel Andrak, or somehow the one who's supposed to be the funny sidekick here. That's why the show was called Schmidt and Pocher. It was the only Harold Schmidt show with both names in the title. Otherwise, he only worked with people where someone was a sidekick. Okay, and that was good too. And the departure wasn't clearly communicated by Harold, but we found out about it through a Spiegel interview. And then towards the end, in the last episode, the mood got a bit colder, and how the relationship is now, okay.
I'm interested too. What's Harold Schmidt doing on YouTube?
Honestly, I also asked Harold again about the year in review. And so we also talked on the phone, and he called back right away. We talked, but then he declined.
Biggest defeat?
Honestly, I haven't had a big defeat, so nothing comes to mind. So, for example, if a show gets canceled or something like that, how does that feel?
Back then you went to SAT, won as the savior with the Ollie Pocher show. At some point they say, Ollie, it's not working.
Exactly.
Are you then sad? And I'll ask you later anyway, Mola, if you're really an emotional person.
Yes, I am emotional, but I've never cried like that because of a show.
When was the last time you cried?
Just somehow, funnily enough. Funnily enough, yesterday I watched The Life of Chuck. Somehow an insanely good movie. That was really good. So there are movies that really catch me like that.
And apart from movies, no idea?
Yeah, birth.
Birth, breakups?
Breakups. The last time, anger and frustration took over, so there was no real breakup. Yeah, but I have cried during a breakup before, just not with the last one.
Will you make your next relationship public again?
I didn't do that with Amira for the first year and a half either.
But if you see someone in the audience today, Elke or Jens, it doesn't matter, and you say man with her or him?
Yeah. So, definitely, it would be nice to just try it with Jens who used to be called Elke.
The main thing is that you find your happiness.
Yeah, well, I would. I can rule out that it will be Jens.
Okay.
I'm bold enough to say that. But honestly, it's always situational. You can't really say for sure. Maybe the next partner will also be someone who's in the public eye. Then you can't really prevent it after a certain point.
That's true.
Or you can be as evasive as Lena Meyer-Landrut and Mark Forster, or Caroline Quebecus and Max Mutzke. I find it embarrassing and silly to perform on each other's shows, but not want to be seen together publicly. Everyone knows you're together, yet you work with Christian sherds to avoid attention, while still keeping the publicity.
Do we need to bleep this, or I'll get letters?
No, you can broadcast all of it.
Based on your expertise, Christian Säumike?
So you can. Those are facts. The fact that they are together is already known.
All right, let's see what's next.
If I were to say now that Hazel Brugger's child really isn't the most beautiful child.
I distance myself from everything and leave it. Dear Mr. Pocher has already dressed up so much earlier. You need to know now since you removed your mic. Oh, right.
I can put it back on again.
No, it looks more professional.
I don't mind. You can wire me up again if you want.
Are you in the mood today?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you're just not really in the mood, you know?
It counts. Yeah, it counts. It really does count.
Woohoo.
But that's cocaine you're talking about. Or whatever people take. It counts at 8.
At 8? Okay, before that?
And now before that, yeah, I'm on it right now.
Are you reflecting? You keep asking about people who still want on the guest list.
That's part of it, everything before and after. But then there are still those. Now we're just thinking about which videos we might still need for a screen check, which Gunther is also supposed to react to include as well.
I saw Mike and Layla happy. The man arranged the wedding. Yes?
Yes, the wedding of the year.
Yes?
The wedding of the year.
I directed the live broadcast.
That's the beautiful wedding of the year. Robbery of the year at the Geissens.
We're back in my head. In your television career, there was always something, then Corona hit and you started Screen Control. Was it anger the first time, or did you expect that outcome? That took you from 200,000 to millions of followers, right?
No, it wasn't like that. Honestly, I see it as the evolution of television total. Like, you just take the content that's happening somewhere. That could be a television clip, a YouTube clip, or even an Instagram story clip. And to comment on that somehow, and to do it in a certain compact way with the option to just hold up the iPad to the camera and present everything really quickly and by doing it yourself. And that somehow established itself pretty quickly, and it just became a way of somehow staying involved, having fun, and that people react to it so strongly, and especially like that. People affected by it freaked out and somehow felt attacked accordingly. Yeah, well, I think it's the form of modern television total on the internet.
I've been asked several times about how often I've received cease and desist orders or copyright complaints for showing someone's content without permission.
No, copyright. That's actually pretty clean because there really is. There's a citation, yeah, and I show the whole thing. Yeah, it's also obvious who or where it's from.
Okay.
I'm not displaying it full screen. Just on the iPad where you can see it.
More in the background?
What's happening, so to speak? It's just like people who join in to comment. Kind of like with a green screen, and then they're in the front. So that's how it is. There has never been any problem because of copyright.
And how often does the lawyer write to you?
Most of them, I think, don't even have the money for it, and those who usually do have the money for it usually don't have the sense of humor to just let it go. But it was limited. That too was within limits.
What's the biggest fine you ever paid?
Honestly, I haven't paid that many fines yet because we won or settled most of the cases. Or just, yeah, a settlement. No, but also, yes, there was a time, back then on Wet and Das, there was a young lady named Gottschalk. And back then she showed her identification to prove her last name was Gottschalk. Then on Wet and Das, I said I saw her date of birth. Then she was relatively, well, the age she was born didn't match her face, at least in my opinion. And back then there was a show called The Swan on ProSieben where people underwent surgery. And I said, oh, this is actually interesting. We can handle that at ProSieben. We have The Swan, a great show. Can I recommend it? She then sought compensation for pain and suffering. Then I think she was eventually awarded 10,000 euros. She wanted 35,000 or something like that. And then, a year later, I was asked about it again on Johannes B. Kerner's talk show. How it turned out. I said, yeah, it cost about 10,000 euros, but honestly, you can't do much with that. And then we thought about whether we should leave it in or not. And I was like, yeah, leave it in. Cost another 10 grand.
So you left it in?
Well, I'm allowed to talk about it. So, those are just facts. I think that was the most expensive thing.
Do you ever think about things like that afterwards? I mean, you also had trouble with Loredana during the screen check, right? And a lot of trouble. Sometimes you think, wow, I wish I hadn't done it.
No, I always did it based on how I felt in the situation. And with most people, they're cool and relaxed. But there are always a few who don't think it's that cool. But even then, maybe you meet and laugh about it later. Again, I'm behind the scenes. That's showbiz for me. I always say, anyone who puts their butt out there, whether in stories, Instagram, or videos, they should also expect it to be kicked occasionally.
Okay, I can even agree with that. Yes.
Is anything important coming up next?
No, critical, no, I agree. If you're on social media, you have to expect that. Can you always stay that cold, or do you sometimes feel that way at night?
No, I don't take any of that with me at all. So if someone writes something or whatever, that's their right. They can do that. And most of the time, the law is on our side. Or at most, it ends with a cease and desist order, where you also say, okay, we've broadcast it once, it's already been shown, so why should we show it again?
Okay, how often do you get nasty messages on WhatsApp or Instagram where people say, I hate you?
I don't really know either, because I hardly ever look at my direct messages at all.
Do people ever say it to you on the street? What do people who meet you say to you? Do they say, hey?
Most of them are, strangely enough, huge fans, because they don't dare to approach you one-on-one. So either they don't say anything at all, they usually just stand around, gossip, and say, look, about you.
I'm planning to do the same with Tony later.
Yeah, wonderful, go ahead. Or by the way, that was really funny recently. I was at Till Lindemann's, the Rammstein singer's, solo show, and then I was backstage and everything. As I was leaving, a woman who was clearly drunk told me she thought I was totally misogynistic. I found it hilarious, especially at Till Lindemann's show. I thought that was funny in the backstage area, after I had just seen giant vaginas on 10-meter screens, and all kinds of erect dicks and everything. I just wanted to add, also regarding women, no, I think it's good.
You're talking big now. How often has it actually happened? Yeah, I think you've already gotten a lot of threats, right?
Yeah, well, threatened. And people who feel attacked or incited online who say you need to punch me in the mouth. And after that incident in Dortmund, where the colleague actually slapped me. And also people, including Sido, who actually applauded the whole thing. I find that really difficult because no matter what, I just think that's totally antisocial. On a verbal level, that's exactly how I do it. Anyone can do that, but it should stay that way. They can say things like, I think that's crap, or call someone names like son of a bitch. And then I say, well, that only applies to my kids, but not to the others. So, then it's fine. Then you can definitely do that.
Wait a minute. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I distance myself from it.
It's good publicly, hopefully.
He needed some time with me. Okay, because what I found very bizarre about the video back then was the reaction of Christoph Daum, who was sitting next to you.
Everyone was there, including Klaus Strunz, who was then still chief of BILD AM Sonntag, and later moved to Breakfast Television. Everyone who was standing there was so shocked and didn't know, was that a joke? Did he mean it seriously or not, or something like that? Also, why 4 security guards didn't stop him right away, and why he was in the golden circle, raises many questions that still need answers. But I found the sneakiness, and also that it was filmed from 2 perspectives and immediately spread on TikTok and so on. That just shows the completely antisocial behavior of the guy. And honestly, in my opinion, he was punished way too lightly for what happened. But I think when someone puts a brand new iPhone on the table in court and then walks out with a €1,500 fine, I just find that weak and problematic. But in civil court, I think it's already cost him about 65 to 70,000 euros. That can be repeatedly seized for 30 years despite all bankruptcies. You can always do that, and we do too, with pocket seizures and unexpected visits. So that will keep him busy for the next 28.5 years.
Now you have a problem there. It really wasn't a good move on his part. I also thought it was bad. That's how it is now. If he were to come now and say, Mr. Pocher, let's meet alone, sit down and talk.
He wanted to do that in court and then take a selfie with me right after the verdict.
Oh, you just didn't feel like it?
No, of course not, I said. That's the wrong signal right now. I told him he actually got off pretty lightly. Now that it's out, I might try to keep things more low-key. I'm not sure if he got it that way. I sent him a couple clips from some podcasts. He still gets invited here and there. That's his only snippet, which actually shouldn't be played anymore. That's his one-hit wonder, so to speak. And honestly, I haven't really seen much remorse or anything like that, but maybe after another year or 2 of distance, and when you eventually start earning serious money and not just stuffing it into your pockets left and right somehow. And we know that he got money for boxing, several tens of thousands of euros, and that there's just lying going on. Of course, but even there somehow, if a state lets itself be fobbed off with that and then doesn't even say, okay, he can't pay it, let's put him behind bars for a few days, which I'd actually like, and that's supposedly going to happen now. I'm not sure if it's happened or is still coming. I also think that once it reaches a certain amount, there should be some real consequences. That's also why people like that no longer take the state seriously.
Okay, now the mood is down.
Waiting for Mr. Yauk now.
And then it goes up like a rocket?
That's exactly how it looks. Glad you're at the meet and greet. Here, we like it a bit closer and cozier, and honestly, you're my favorites because you're the rich ones. Despite all that, we still have to do something for the folks outside. That means we're more or less on a normal schedule.
Do you always play the same thing at the meet and greets like you do for the podcast, or do you switch it up?
No, just a bit of the intro at the beginning, but then people can ask whatever they want. They often come with gifts, too. That was a bit lacking today.
Yeah.
Photos and more, let's continue.
It's starting. Think Mr. Yauk will give you a woohoo now?
You'll need to ask him soon. How are you?
How are you doing?
Very good. Today I'm spending the day with Mr. Pocher. By the way, why are you doing this?
Calm down, that's the central question of the evening.
People keep asking, so I want to document it on my YouTube channel. You're the reason it exists. Mr. Yauk, a year in review with Ollie Pocher. How did that come about?
We've known each other for ages, and when Ollie Pocher calls, if he calls 10 times, I turn him down 9 times, but this was the 10th time.
And then you join in because it's something completely different from the big stage at RTL.
Yeah, although 1,000 people sitting in front of me make me more nervous than a few million watching on television. I don't see them.
That's true. Now I have to ask you something personal. Do you actually know that you are the reason why 1.5 million people are watching me on YouTube today? Without Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I wouldn't have the channel and Timo wouldn't have a house in Brieselang.
Yes, that a house in Brieselang?
Yes, he bought it with his fee.
Really?
No, but with his salary.
No, some people actually manage that. I mean, I even had some myself. I mean, in that sense, it was just small stuff. I actually made some people into millionaires.
They did the same for me, but not on the show, yes. Mr. Joch, were you satisfied with the live show?
It was something completely different for a change. And I enjoyed it, I really did. Yeah, and I think I didn't hide myself either.
No, you did very well, but now you're going to cancel the next 9 times again, right?
Yes, of course.